right, we're on for my last workshop, guys. Ta-da! Councilman?
Hallelujah.
We're short-lived, girl. We're short-lived. All right. Good. All right, let's open it up. We have anybody here for any public comments?
No one signed up.
No one signed up. That means that too late. Let's go with discussion of the National Guard. And Houston Cantrell, can you introduce people with you?
I can.
Talk a little bit.
Very happy to. Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm Houston Cantrell. I've met some of you already. I'm the Real Property Branch Chief for OKR&G, and with me and giving a presentation tonight is my boss, Colonel Curtis Arnold. He is the CFMO for OKR&G, and I will let him take it away.
All right, thank you.
Colonel, if you would, please, the hot seat is ready for you, and that will help us.
Would you mind terribly if I stood?
No, I think you're all right there. We just want to get you so people can see.
If I was about 6'5", I could probably sit down and this would work out. I'm about 5'7", so if I stand up, maybe I can see and hear you. And
you know, I hate it when all we can see is your high and tight. So stand up, feel comfortable.
Stretch out.
Mr. Arnold, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. And I tell you, I hear that from a lot of folks that says thank you for your service, but listen, thank you for your support. Less than 1% of our nation's population serves in the armed forces. And a lot of those guys and gals do to their own apparel, pay the ultimate sacrifice so that we can have a great country to live in. So thank you for your support. When you see a soldier and you say thank you, that soldier is just appreciative of everything that you do for him and his family back home. So thank you. We want to talk to you a few minutes about partnerships. We're looking constantly at our aging facilities across the state. We've replaced several of them in the BRAC 2005 process. We entered into several partnerships and done $260 million worth of new construction that brought us 13 brand new, beautiful facilities across the state. And we're continuing that process. We entered a partnership last year with the city of Ardmore and the United States Army Reserve. We're on the President's financial budget for 2017. We started a $22 million project in 17 there. We entered into a partnership with Weatherford. They were gracious enough to grant 50 acres of land. We are now trying to describe that project and get it competing so that we'll have it on the books for future construction as well. And that's what we're doing here. We want to talk to Guthrie about a partnership. Let me tell you why Guthrie is important to the National Guard of the great state of Oklahoma. As many of you know, and I'm not trying to educate the masses, I'm just one of the political cronies that serves in the bureaucracy that serves our great state. But whenever the governor calls in times of state emergency, we're not the Title 10 force, we're the Title 32 force, which is important when it comes to the money and we'll get the attorneys involved. And you know, you can't do anything without an attorney or accountant, so this is important. But we're the governor's finest when it comes down to state emergency response. And we use these armories, we use the equipment, we use the soldiers to help the citizens of the great state of Oklahoma in times of flood, tornadoes, wildfires. Everybody in this room watched the helicopters fly on TV the last 2 or 3 years as we've gone through a drought, and we've watched a lot of Oklahoma burn, and we've seen the military helicopters flying. Well, that wasn't the United States Army, that's the Oklahoma Army National Guard. That's the helicopters that are assigned here that's flown by our citizen soldiers that were fighting those fires. And they did that based out of armories and facilities that are in the local communities around the state. So what makes Guthrie attractive to us is the property we're looking at anyway allows for plenty of room for growth and development. It gives us immediate access to the interstate system, the highway. It allows us to deploy our soldiers and our equipment as fast as we need to when the governor calls for state emergency response. And it's a great community, you know. We've had an armory here. We was here for about 70 years. We occupied a facility. Great Guard community. So we're looking to continue that partnership. Now, I think we throw the presentation up, and she's got some soldiers up there doing what soldiers really love to do, which is play in the sandbox some miles away from here. Next slide. I really sent this PowerPoint for you to look at whenever you wanted to, and I want it running in the background just so you could have some pictorial representation of some of the facilities we built. What we'd really like to do is enter into a dialogue with you. I know there's got to be questions. We were lucky enough to have a few of you come over and tour one of our facilities in Mustang, but some of you didn't get to. So I'd really like to enter into a dialogue with you and answer those questions that you would have. And we'll just let this thing, next slide. There's the more important stuff. That's the facade on the front of the facility in Muskogee. And there's the next slide, the entryway. If you will, just occasionally just flip that. But this is just one of the facilities we've built in the last 5 or 6 years. So with that in mind, what questions would you have for me specifically?
And we need you here.
Well, we want to be here, ma'am.
Absolutely.
We think this is absolutely a great spot.
How many people did you say would be here full-time?
Between 30 and 50. It depends on the activity we put here.
How about the rest beyond full-time?
Great question. A lot of our soldiers are traditional soldiers, which mean they're working members of our communities out there, and they show up 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the summer usually, and state emergency response and other times. But the full complement would be somewhere around 400.
What communities would you pull from? Do you know that?
Well, I don't really know. I mean, we could speculate based on the age of the facility, but that'd be just part of the equation. There's still some operations and personnel pieces that would have to be discussed. So it'd be a little premature to speculate, especially just from an engineering standpoint.
I think I read 18 to 24 months to start construction.
What happens is we seek out the properties, we find properties that we think are viable properties. We preliminarily looked at this piece of property from records point of view. We think it's a viable property. We think that it'll get NEPA approved. And for those of you that's ever sought federal grants, federal monies, you know that you have to have National Environmental Protection Agency approval on properties to do any type of federal funding on it. So once we acquire the property, we have a legal instrument of ownership in some manner, then we'll launch that study. That gives us the authority, the ownership of the property does, to spend those dollars, those federal dollars to do the full NEPA study. Then we build a packet, everything goes to Washington DC, and we repeat the project in what's called Future Year Defense Plan, trying to get it on the President's budget for construction.
Is there a life of the facility?
Typically 50 years, ma'am, is what we like to think the life of a facility is. We sort of exceeded that with the last one because I think we occupied for 70 plus. So, but we like to think on a planning purposes about 50 years.
And then what do you do after that 50 years?
Our practice in the past has been to return the property to the original grantor. In this case, it would be the city with all improvements on it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much would you pay Guthrie for this facility?
Well, that's the interesting piece. We're hoping that Guthrie will donate the property to us for the construction. I know. It's always a tough piece, isn't it?
Yeah.
I tell my boss when you're after it for FREE, that's always a tough piece of the conversation.
How's the sewer and the water? How would you approach all that?
Well, all the utilities have to be brought to the property line. We can't pay to have utilities brought to the property line. We can only work on the property. We have a legal instrument of ownership. Otherwise, you're spending federal dollars on property you don't own or they don't have vested interest in.
But do you know if it's city water or if it's rural water?
Doesn't matter as long as it meets the standard.
It is rural water district.
We'll have the water tested before we ever decide whether or not it's totally a go. But it doesn't really matter. We have rural water in some of our facilities, and we have city water in some of our facilities. So it's usually not a problem in the state of Oklahoma.
The sewer water would be city though, right? City would have to accommodate that? The sewer? Do you know?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It is in rural water district.
But sewer water. They do with
Sewer.
sewer.
There is no sewer to the,
Has
They
there
do a
been some
septic
conversation
system, or would
about?
we have to hook them up?
we would have to tie it in.
So we would have to pay some infrastructure money.
Preliminary engineering reports are at about $980,000.
For us to get infrastructure to them.
Yes. And also in that conversation is that we can't provide water today to that property because it is in a rural water district.
Right. How far does our sewer go? Where does it stop?
Maxine, I may ask you, it's this side of 35.
Yes.
I don't need it.
This side. That's the cost.
So that from this side of 35 to over there, it's that
To do
much.
water and sewer is 900.
To do water and sewer.
Water and sewer.
Okay, so.
No, I'm sorry, just sewer, just sewer.
Okay, just sewer. Okay. That's a problem.
Well, is there any, I know this is, when you got 400 people there, you got major sewer problem. Is there any way that an aerobic system big could be used to handle that? But you're only gonna have 30 people, but just on weekends. So would an aerobic system stand up to that y'all could,
Can always be looked into. It's not like it's not a part of the solution set. We typically don't discuss that because those are typically not very popular in other municipalities, so we typically don't go down that road. I have some. I actually have 2 of those systems inside the state that we manage now, but they're neither one in a metropolitan area. Both of them are in rural settings. Does that make sense?
Right.
So we typically don't go down that road.
I understand.
But it's a doable process, yes, sir.
I just, I think financially that for the city to give a piece of property and then put, how many dollars you say into, anytime you cross under an interstate, I'm preaching to the choir, but you gotta play the game that the man wants you to play, so costs go up. Food for thought.
You bet.
Is there any way to, I mean, are you guys sold on this? I mean, we have the old armory, could you upgrade that? And
No, the old armory was built in 1936 by a construction standard that's close to 80 years old now. We grade facilities in 2 criteria. One, sufficiency, and we're talking about the soldiers' use of that facility and how well that facility supports that. Quite obviously, that one doesn't support it. When that one was built, the largest piece of equipment in the inventory was a 2.5-ton truck. The workhorse was really a smaller vehicle. Today, we don't have anything that fits that facility. The soldiers' equipment, the training sites, the equipment parking there. Most of our soldiers nowadays, in the new armories, we describe what we call a weapons training center or a simulators room. It would take half that armory just to do that. So trying to renovate that armory would exceed any cost that we could put into it. And the other, of course, the other code we look at is the code compliancy of the facility. The facility wouldn't meet the new DOD standards as well. So, unfortunately, no. Those are left to become museums or community centers or other types of activities usually. Depends on the municipality. Well,
Do we have a deadline of some sort that we need to?
no, ma'am,
Okay,
not at all.
okay.
Not at all. We want you to think it over, and we want you to be a partner with us just as much as we want to be a partner with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us.
You
Kind of bring
bet.
us up to
You bet.
speed.
Okay.
I know I've dealt with Houston a couple of times and trying to get everything coordinated, and I appreciate you being out today.
Sure, and the leadership has Houston's phone number. If something comes to mind later, you review the slides, or you have other questions, don't worry, just give us a shout. We'll be more than happy to answer those. If you need additional information or whatever, just let us know. We'll be on it.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, I think discussion of agenda items is pretty quiet for tonight, isn't it?
Sure, unless there's council with any questions on agenda items this evening.
You know me?
Whenever you want to join us.
Oh, yeah, I'm just sitting in that room.
Seeing none.
Future agenda items, any of y'all that might be around later, want to talk about something?
We should go to a party.
Doesn't sound good. I think I hear Punch calling.
I think Mary had
I
some.
did actually have one on the trying to find it here before I go too much farther. Citizens rate and fee advisory, are we keeping the same people that have been on that? Or how's
The
that gonna happen?
62nd council will
Uh-huh.
vote on that this evening.
Right, so what I'm asking is, what, are we just, this is a whole new do-over for this?
You can or keep the same. There's nothing written that says it has to have the same people. So on that committee, each council member and
Right.
mayor selects one person.
Right.
And so,
And we're gonna do that tonight?
tonight.
Okay.
And then we are hoping to fast track that and have their first meeting in May, is what I'm hoping for, to prepare y'all for budget season with rates and fees to be as a discussion.
Okay.
So whoever you select this evening, we'd like them to meet as soon as possible.
Okay.
So can Z and Mary keep their Trey,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just,
keep theirs, so.
I know I haven't had time to go and select somebody different, so it's gonna have to stay the same.
One person's interested in staying, so.
Well,
Good.
I think they've put a lot of time and energy in on their own time to help,
Do you know how
so.
many times they've met? Did they meet multiple times or just
very
one or
many.
twice?
It's just as needed.
I think they
haven't met lately.
No, they haven't met lately.
Yeah,
I think
it's
2 or
been
3 times.
2 or 3
they've met.
times?
They have not met in the last 6 months.
Yeah,
Right.
I can
I
tell you
know
that.
that, yeah.
I know that.
Okay.
That's what I
Haven't done
Been a
it.
while.
Doesn't sound.
Okay, thank you.
Come on, tell me something else.
We just want to hang out with you a little bit.
Yeah,
I wanna
just
drink-
close the doors and kick back.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wanna
that
drink
sounds
punch
good.
with you.
I will tell you all a future agenda item where there'll be a town meeting hosted in summertime, Renee, summer
Yes.
for ODOT. And we had an ODOT workshop a few months ago, but they didn't give like real definite plans, but we're gonna have them come in and share plans with y'all for the viaduct.
Do we have a date set? or-
No,
They just said end of summer.
end of summer was the town meeting that they want to host, but before that meeting, we want to come to y'all and give you renderings and what it looks like. They've given us some renderings that we got posters of today, so.
Okay, well, let's just hang out together. How's your day going, Z?
No.
We gotta go to a party.
Oh, there's a party
There's a
downstairs?
party. Let's go to your party.
All right.
You can enjoy it.
Yes, we are adjourned. Oh, did y'all think I stuttered?